afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are listening around the world. We are back. It's myself and Lee talking all things football, talking all things Arsenal. Please make sure you do us a favour, hit the like and the subscribe on this one. Make sure if you do want to join as a member that you click the join button. Me and Lee are going to talk for around about 45 minutes to an hour about all things Arsenal. We're going to mention transfers. We're going to talk about pre-season and our thoughts going into this season. It feels like too long, Lee. How are you and how was pre-season, mate?
Yeah, listen, it has been a while, so obviously 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks today, that we went on the tour, and yeah, had a fantastic time. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant tour. Access to the players, talking to the players was incredible. The most humbling thing that you can ever have is when players come up to you and ask, how you doing and all that, like Gabriel Martinelli. Just chuck that one in there. But the nicest guy of all was Eddie. And I've been a little bit critical of Eddie in the past. But come up to me, how you doing, Lee? How's the tour been going? Seeing your travels and things like that. Introduced me to Riccardo Calafiori and Thomas Partey as well. He was a really top guy. So had a good chat with Ethan Wanyeri as well. What a very, very good tour he had. Yeah, so they were the humbling things to be able to
nice
get
kid, isn't he, Ethan? Nice kid, apparently.
Unbelievable. I'm going to say it now. Feet firmly on his ground. No arrogance about it. No cockiness. Humble. It really took to him. You looked at him and thought, yeah, you've got the makings of it all. You know what I mean? Just said to him, I'm doing fantastically well on the tour. Said about his goal assist against Man United, how well he done. Oh, thank you very much. You know what I mean? I'll keep trying. I'll keep working hard. All the things that you would want a kid to say, he said. So that was really, really good. And obviously, meeting Josh as well, Josh Nichols. We've sort of met up with his mum was sitting with a couple of the guys, and she sort of hung around with us, done a few things on the trip in LA because she was over there unbelievably on a holiday when she found out that he was playing. So she extended her stay. And the first thing Josh come up and said when he see us was, "Oh, thanks for looking after my mum." You know what I mean? Class. So yeah, that was some great things. Some good play. I'm not gonna deny that. I thought we played some good football, but I'm gonna say it now, Dan. I've spoke about this off air, so I'm gonna get the elephant out of the room. I've always said I wasn't that bothered if we signed a striker. I didn't think, I know that you have. You're very banging on about the striker situation. I've always sort of said, well, we're the highest goal scorers in the league and things like that, stats, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes stats are fantastic, but the eye, Dan, can be as, God bless him, Kevin used to always say that, the eye test. And I see the same things, missing chances, missing wrong options at the wrong time in that final third. And if we're going to get over the line, get past Manchester City, it's games like the Liverpool game. I know it was only a pre-season friendly, but when people say it's only pre-season friendly, I see it last season against Aston Villa. I see it last season against Villa away, Newcastle away, playing really well. If you look back on those games we lost, you wouldn't turn around and say we played badly because that we didn't. And we didn't play badly against Liverpool, but we missed chances. We missed vital stages of the game. We should have been 1-0 up before we went 1-0 down against Liverpool. Yes, Liverpool were, I thought, more dangerous than us in the first half. I'll give you that. And they took their chances and missed a few chances themselves. But it's a recurring theme that we keep missing good chances at vital times. I think Jesus and Havertz are magnificent players, Dan. I think they really are. Havertz was brilliant on the game against Liverpool because it was his first game. But if you was to tell me what is their strengths, what is their weaknesses, the weakness of both of them is their finishing. That is their weakest part of their game.
Agree.
We need someone now to come in and take those chances. Now, I'm not saying it has to be a guaranteed starter. all of that malarkey. It's someone when that ball whizzes across the park, there's someone on the end of it to just tap it in. Met Ian Wright, of course, on the tour. I've just been watching some clips, funny enough, that were on here earlier on. Just of the ball goes across, someone makes a mistake, Ian Wright, bang, finishes it. We've got to get that sort of killer, Dan. And now I don't know who that is. That is something that maybe in the chat everybody can say. But we need a killer. We need a gunman. I do believe it. And if we don't in this transfer window, I think it'll come back to bite us. And we're in a window of opportunity where I think we can really be the team that takes City or that. When I look at it, Liverpool not quite there at this moment. Chelsea, man, that ain't going to last forever like it hadn't with us, Dan, when we was down in the mud. You've got to take your opportunities, a window of opportunities there. And I'm sorry, if Arsenal do not spend the money on a striker this season and we don't win the league, consequences of that have got to be done, because I'm telling you that you've got the opportunity. Don't tell me that money's not there, because you can sell players. You're selling players at this moment in time. You're buying defenders that, yes, it's great to have California on board and all that, but is that necessarily the money could have gone on that forward, you know? So if they don't do it, I think it could come back and bite us. I really do, Dan. And I don't want negative when I'm saying that, because I'm looking at it. We are that close to winning this title, this close. Please, Arsenal, go over the line and do it. And you know what? If they go and spend 60, 70 million on a striker and we don't do it, at least I know that we went for it. At this moment in time, if we don't go for it and we end up losing it, someone's got to be to fault of it. Now, who is to fault? As Mark just said there, like, down to Edu and Arteta. They've got the opportunity to do it. This is their time. This is their time. So that's the only negative I've got of the tour, because I thought the tour was fantastic. The younger players and seeing everybody come back, and you know, obviously everybody's back now. So the Emirates Cup's going to be more in. We're going to know where we are then, but I'm worried about that.
I think it's fair, man. Listen, do us a favour, people. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let's get us up to our next target, which is 40k. Let's make sure if you've got any questions that you put them in. Any super chats you've got, please whack them in. Make sure that I'm aware of it. It's a question by putting a Q at the start of it, and I'll try and star as many as we can, and we'll get some of your interaction and some questions up on the screen in a bit. Listen, Lee, I've got to say, at the moment, we're not linked with a strike. Well, we are linked with strikers. We're linked with loads of strikers. Julian Alvarez from City, Osimhen, Gyökeres. No heavy links, though. It doesn't look like we're close to signing them. Like a Calafiori, who is now through the door, and obviously Mikel Merino. But there is a link today to a winger, not a striker, and I wanted to get your opinions on this one. This has come in a couple of hours ago now, which is the player of the Euros that some people were very interested in and thought played very well for Turkey. It says that Arsenal have accelerated negotiations to sign the Galatasaray winger, Barış Alper Yilmaz. He's 24 years old. Details of a potential agreement are being discussed, and Arsenal will need to pay 20 million euros for the player. Now, I don't know how reliable that source is, but it's not a player that I was aware of. Some people are saying that, oh, you couldn't have watched the Euros then. He was one of the best players. Well, I don't think he was. I think Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams and players like that were. But for me, obviously, he lit up the Euros, and people were saying he'd be a good signing. Have you heard of him?
No, I'll be really honest about it. Now you said he played for the Turkey team as a whole. Impressed me, but I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? Like all the players are the same to me. Like it's just Turkey. You know what I mean? Like I'll be really honest, and I was impressed with Turkey. You know, our good friend Turkish would probably know more about him than us. But for me, I would have to say, you know, listen, they impressed. Turkey impressed on that Euro. So if he's one of those players, great. And I'm not one of these players, and I'm going to, supporters that's going to turn around and say, oh, it's got to be £100 million player, or it's got to be this, it's got to be about that. I trust what they say. But for me, is he going to take you the extra yard over Man City? No. Declan Rice has took us level with them. You know, from the midfield, that's took us in level situation. We need someone now to take us over. Now, I don't know who that guy is. It could be this fella. It could be somebody else. I don't know, Dan. I'm really, you know, when it comes to all of this, I've got to trust the manager if whoever they go for. You know, there's talk about Osman, Watkins, the Swedish guy.
You're correct.
Gyökeres, who I've been impressed with. All of them are there. All that I want to see is a striker come through that's completely different to what we've got in Jesus and Havertz there. And if you want to put that in there as well, Trossard as well. They're false nines, right? We want a number 9. You know what I mean? Eddie is not quite at that level that's going to take us to the Premier League, you know? So that is where I look at it. And until we get that, it will be another window gone past then, and another one when we go, well, we haven't got what we wanted in it. And I'm not criticising them because there's a long way to go before it happens. But if Arsenal, I don't know if you see it, but Curtis asked a question, is there another £100 million player going? Arteta said, no, there's not. Arteta's not going to say yes to that answer, by the way, you know what I mean? But I'll be very disappointed if that player is available, to come get. Sometimes, Dan, you have to make a player available.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity to do it. It's no good like getting a striker in 2 years' time when we've lost Saliba and we've lost Rice because they're fed up with everything, you know what I mean, and things like that. And it's got to be a killer striker. I see Alcaraz is mentioned and all that. Not a killer striker, Dan. That's not the one that we want. You can bring him in if you're going to sell Jesus or somebody like that. But listen, Jesus done some fantastic stuff on this. Some of the things that he done against Man United, mind-boggling. Some of the turns and whatever, Dan. But he got into goal-scoring opportunities on 4 occasions, scored 1. He got away with it against Man United. You'll get away with it maybe against a lot of teams in the Premier League. But don't forget, we want to be competing in Europe as well, and at the business end of the Champions League. You've got to have a killer. I don't care what you say, And listen, Real Madrid, and I'm not saying that we're a Real Madrid and all that, they've gone and won the Champions League, but what have they done? They've not rested on their laurels and said, we've got enough. We're bringing Mbappe, we're bringing this, we're bringing that. We are at our strongest we've been for a very, very long while, Dan. Make it count.
Yeah,
Make it count. And that is my only concern on what I think is we're. Do you know what I've always said? Me. If you said to me, "What would you rather spend the money?" and I've always said, "Bring in Gyökeres, 100 million, and I think we can get away with it." I think now I would go with the likes of Thomas Partey, Jorginho, and go for that forward. Go for it. And I don't know, people say Isaac's, where much is that going to get him out of out of Newcastle? 120 million, 130? Do it then. Do it. You know what I mean? Make it happen.
Go and do that Declan Rice signing, get him out of West Ham. West Ham didn't want to sell him, but he recognised he had to go. The thing is with Newcastle is they're probably going to know they can keep him for one more year, but if they don't get Champions League football, he'll be out, mate. So will Bruno. So I think that's where he's at, whereas Declan Rice had his 4 or 5 years at West Ham. I think when you look at what we need right now, it's something a little bit different. And I want to share this because this is something I shared on my channel about this Gyökeres, because I quite like the look of him, Lee. I must say. Yeah. There's a lot that I like from him. And I look at this now and I think this could be something that Arsenal need right now. Now, I don't know how much you can see of that, but this is a guy who takes it from the halfway line and drives, ball carrying, something that a number 9 doesn't always do. So that Havertz is okay at, but no, he's gone all the way from the halfway line and no one can catch him. He's going, and then he squares it very, very well. Unselfishly as well, because he could have had a dig there from there as a striker. That sort of play from me is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing all sorts of goals from Victor Gyökeres. 58 goals and assists in 50 games, mate. That is ridiculous. That is absolutely incredible form. 58 goals and assists in 50 games last season for Sporting Lisbon. Let's be real, mate. I honestly believe that could be the guy. And, 100 million euros, 84 million pound release clause. We can activate that release clause and get him. But you're right. We've got to go and do something, because for me, I honestly believe that this could be the make or break. And if we are going to get rid of Eddie, which I'll bring up in a minute, we've got to get somebody in, Lee, because Arsenal cannot sell Reece Nelson, Emil Smith-Rowe and Eddie Nketiah and go, we'll just keep Nwaneri and we won't buy anyone else. That is not improving your squad, is it? Do you know what I mean? That is not improving your squad. You cannot sell 3 youngsters and then not bring in anyone and just go, yeah, but we've got Wanyeri. Like I honestly do not believe that there's any answer other than you've got to bring in a striker. And I do believe after Mikel Merino, we need 2 more. And I just think with the striker, if we don't do it and we say we wait next year, we try and get Isak, I don't really want to wait another year, Lee. I want to win the league now.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, and who used to say Isak's going to come next year, not this year? He might not come at all. Do you know what I'm saying? And, you know, like Chris made a great point on my channel. I had Chris Hudson on earlier. I said to him, well, we could do. A lot of people are saying we wait and then we get in next summer. And he went, it won't be getting a striker next summer. It's going to be, let's keep Saliba away from Real Madrid if we don't win the league. We're going to have other problems if we don't win the league. Go and get that striker now and go and win the league and keep Saliba here. And I thought that was a great point.
Yeah, listen, it's a great point, and I will argue with it slightly. Is even when we won the leagues with the and doubles and the Invincibles, you know, Real Madrid come knocking. You know what I mean? They come, Barcelona come knocking for Thierry Henry, Vieira, like, you know. I remember those times. It always happened, but you've got a little bit more armory, if you like, if you're winning titles and everything like that. Now, I'm pretty sure that the likes of Saliba and Declan Rice have looked forward to getting back into training and going again. I don't care what anybody says, because they're in it, like to try and to do well. They wanted to come. So what I like about not so much Declan Rice, but definitely Saliba and a couple of these other players, that they come to this football club when it weren't at its greatest. They wanted to come because they wanted to play for Arsenal. So there's always that thing in there. And you know, Calafiori, like, you know what I mean, posting very, very cleverly, posting the pictures of him when he was watching the game against Crystal Palace. Like it. So straight away, you're liking that. But I'm with you, and I don't necessarily say we're going to lose them. But if you're a player, and I'm a Declan Rice player that can go, or Saliba, let's, you know, they're probably the two that could go. If you'd be really honest, that they could go to any club in football. Yeah, I think if they become available, everyone would want them, right? You know, as everybody would have took Declan Rice last season if they could afford him. What happens is that you may decide, look, do you know what I mean? Like, I want to be winning things here. I want to be winning things, and I'm not. And I even though as much as I want to stay here and win things, it doesn't look like it's happening, because the club had the opportunity this year, or it could be 2 years down the line, going, do you know what? 2 years ago, we had the opportunity to take Manchester City, and we didn't, when we didn't buy so-and-so, or we didn't. Now, if, for instance, I'm sitting there and we haven't won nothing for the last couple of years, and we signed a centre forward and we signed another midfield player, I would look at that as a player and go, we're trying. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. I still believe in this. But if the club are not doing that, I do think you may just actually turn around and go, do you know what? Maybe I will give it a miss. You know? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think this for me, as a fan, how I can say it is, as a fan, I'm really behind Edu. I'm really behind Arteta. I believe that we can win the league this year. I really do. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm having a thing of it where I'm not going to be playing. You know, even last season, if you know me, firmly believing, you know, sticking up for Edu, sticking up for Arteta and whatever. If Arsenal don't win the league this season, right, and they don't go and get a forward, right, or an attacking player or whatever, I will look at it and I'll be angry. I will be starting criticising. If Arsenal go and get the striker, let's say it is Victor, you know, I'll say Victor because I can say that. I would then go, do you know what? At least they tried. I'm with it. It's just unlucky. We're not quite there yet and all that. But I think I will be emotionally 2 different people whatever happens in this transfer window.
What you're saying is spot on, because what you're basically saying is have the ambition to maximise this window, do all you can, and then you can't say, oh, well, they didn't do enough. What we can say is, well, they didn't sign a striker, so we didn't win the league. And don't make us say that. I think that's what you're getting at, is don't allow us to get to May and go, why didn't we win the league? Cool, because we weren't clinical enough in front of goal. And we weren't, you know, we didn't have a striker. We didn't have cover for Saka. We didn't have cover for Saliba, whatever it be. We didn't have that last year. So basically, we've got a whole year, and we still just bought another left back. That's what you're getting at, and I totally agree. And that's why I be absolutely astounded if we don't buy an attacking player this window. Absolutely astounded. I don't know if it'll be Yilmaz or if it'll be a Sane or if it'll be a winger or a striker or if it'll be a Osimhen or a Gyökeres. I've no idea who it's going to be. For me, we absolutely need it to be a centre forward, because if we get that striker, Lee, Jesus can play out wide if he has to.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? That's why for me, a striker is prioritizes a winger. Because the only reason people want a winger isn't because they want a brilliant winger. It's because they want Saka to have a rest. So let Jesus do that job and then let him have a rest. And then you're going to go for that striker. That's what I think. That's why I would like both. Don't get me wrong. I think there's two positions we need, and there are the two positions that we need. But personally, for me, I think we've got out for the striker. What do you make of this Eddie situation, bruv? Because it's like some people are saying it's not going to happen now. Marseille is trying to get 27 million euros, should I say, that's been rejected by Arsenal, which works out around about 23 million, which I personally didn't think was a bad bid. But we're trying to hold out now for 30 to 35. It looks as if, personally, Marseille are going to go, no, he's on 100k a week. We can't afford that as well. That's why we want to get him for a bit cheaper. Do you think this is going to happen, or do you think this is going to collapse?
Yeah, I still think it's going to happen. I'll tell you why I think it's going to happen, because I think that there's strikers out there that are going to leave clubs. For instance, Solanke could leave Bournemouth, right? If he goes to wherever, there's going to be some gap there. If Victor leaves Sporting Lisbon, there's going to be something there. I'm not saying it's going to be Eddie, but someone can go somewhere and then it makes it happen for somebody else. So I think Arsenal have got to play the waiting game a little bit with Eddie. Now, people are saying 27 million. Yeah, I think that's a fair deal with a few add-ons and whatever. They want 30. I look at it and Manchester City has just sold Delap and people go, who? Delap? For 20 million to Ipswich. You know what I mean? We've not the same track record as Eddie. So Eddie is a goal scorer. He scored goals. You know what I mean? He has done well. So I don't think that we should be saying, all right, let's go cheap on him. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Eddie has done a job for Arsenal over the years. But we're at a different level now. We're going into something different, And I won't forget what Eddie done against for us when Jesus got injured the year before last. You know what I mean? If Tony goes, there'd be an option at Brentford. That's another one. If Tony goes wherever he goes, there could be something there for Eddie. Now, when these players do go, say if it is Tony goes to wherever Tony goes for 50, 60 million, Brentford have got the money to pay 30 million for Eddie. Now, I'm not saying that that's the best deal for Brentford. I don't know. But Eddie will score goals to a certain degree. People say, well, no, he don't score goals. I remember him scoring the winner against Man United. You know what I mean? So we've got that. I think Eddie's had a bit of a raw deal, if I'll be really honest with it, by having the number 14 shirt. I don't think he should have ever took that, if I'll be really honest. I think that was poor PR and put unnecessary pressure on him, which for me, I don't care about numbers. I've always said that. But a lot of people do. And I don't think that was
just an excuse, wasn't it? So put him on 100k a week and 14 is just an excuse. Yeah. If he has a bad game, they'll point towards that. When they should, if he was a number 30 and was on 40k a week, no one would give him the stick there. But now they have. You know what I'm saying?
He put himself up for the firing line, Dan.
Yeah, on the pedestal. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
He put himself there to be shot at. And a little bit like with Smith-Rowe. Number 10's a big number at Arsenal. You know what I mean? Didn't fulfill it the way he should have done, maybe because of injuries and all that. But I think, listen, at Arsenal, you've got I think iconic numbers like every club. But at the end of the day, 4 was an iconic number. Mertesacker had that for 5 years. You know what I mean? Brian Talbot had it. You know what I mean? I'm not Michael Thomas. It only really come into play when probably Vieira took it. And now everybody thinks the 4 is special. The 7's always been special all through Arsenal's career, history as far as since I've been watching it for Arsenal. You know what I mean? The Liam Brady's, the David Rocastles, you know what I mean? Blah, 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 blah. Iconic number. The number 10's always been more of an iconic number than the number 9 at Arsenal, like, you know, if I'll be really honest. The 10 with the Bergkamps, Mersons, Charlie Nicholas, etc., etc., etc. So, and then all of a sudden, the 14 become really iconic through one man, because at the end of the day, for so many years, 14 meant you was a sub. Let's be honest. Thierry Henry made that. Theo Walcott has done it after that. But no one's ever going to live up to the 14 then. No one.
Of course. Even Aubameyang had it, and he was never Thierry Henry.
Never, like, you know what I mean? Like, who's the best number 14 ever Arsenal ever had?
Yeah, Thierry Henry. Yeah, that's it.
So for me, I don't really understand why he took that number. I really don't. I bloody wouldn't have. I wouldn't have took it.
You know, heavy shirt, man. Heavy shirt.
It's a burden, and I think that at the end of the day, that's not helped him. Listen, you know, at the end of it, if, for instance, you're telling me that we take £27 million and that gets us guaranteeing the price of that Victor or Osimhen, whoever, Tony, then I'd take it.
Absolutely, I would, mate. 100%. Listen, let's do a couple of super chats first, because they've come in first of all. Canadian Gooner has asked, Lee, did you see Gyökeres's run versus Porto? Asked Dan. That was the one that I just showed you about, which was class. And that to me is something very, very different that Arsenal don't have. You know, I know Havertz has got some attributes, but he don't do that, does he? Do you know what I mean? What we've just seen there. So that was what would be good, as we get something a little bit different. Big up to you for that. Big up to Sarah. Says, hi lads, we need to sell Eddie. Thanks, Eddie, but he needs to move. I'd love us to sign Victor Gyökeres. Off to the Emirates, the wind, gutted we sold Emil Smith-Rowe. I wanted to touch on that very quickly, because Emil Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, all look to be leaving the club. I'm okay with it, Lee, and I don't really want to sound too harsh here. I'm sad that it didn't work out for Smith-Rowe, because I think he's a great kid and he loves Arsenal. The kid's played 600 minutes in 2 years. I don't really understand people crying about it and devastated. It is very bizarre to me that people are like actually getting physically upset by this and putting pictures of him with sad faces and all that. I've seen better players leave the club than him. I think it's good for the kid. I think he's going to go and get first team football. We're going to upgrade on that position. We say, thanks, Emil. You've got us Champions League football. Eddie, likewise. Reece, likewise. But it's time to go and get some winners in the club now. And I think we need to upgrade on those positions. And I kind of suppose I have two questions, really. What's your thoughts on Smith-Rowe leaving? And second of all, do you think we need to replace him, or do you think that Ethan Nwaneri is going to be that guy to step up, or Fabio Vieira is still there?
Well, I first of all, I do think that they're trying to make a path for Nwaneri. If you look at the other positions, you know what I mean? Miles Skelly had a very, very good tournament.
Yeah, he did.
Very, very good. But really, like, I look at him and you know, obviously now his mum Marcia, where's his path? It's going to be very, very difficult, especially when they're now signed another left-sided defender in Calafiore, like, you know what I mean? So it's difficult. I see Salah looked very good, by the way, as another player, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Heaven looks like a good player, but there's no path. There's no path for these guys, you know what I mean? Like, but for Nwaneri, it does seem like they're looking maybe to say, right, well, Nwaneri can do what Smith-Rowe done as far as minutes was concerned last season. I don't think there's a problem with that, like, you know. So and I think that he'll get game time this season, like, you know. For the thing with Smith-Rowe, gutted. Yes, I am gutted, because I think that he was a great player, you know. Unfortunately, injuries have just took its toll then, you know what I mean? Like, the window of opportunity for the likes of Eddie, the likes of Nelson, and the likes of Saka were 2-3 years ago, when we was getting into the Europa League, and that's where you was going to make your mark. And unfortunately, he wasn't available for none of them. And then when he's come back to fitness, it was Champions League. You ain't going to get the opportunity. You're not going to rest players for the Champions League. Couldn't do it. And he's just missed the boat. He's just missed the boat. And the reason he's missed boat is because of injuries. And in football, Dan, as you well know, and as well as I know, there is also a lot of luck involved in football to make
timing.
Timing is one of them, and that's luck. You know, I had a magnificent conversation with David Bentley once. David only lives around the corner from me, and you know, we was talking, like, and he said it wasn't that People goes very, very, he says, it does grind me a little bit when people turn around and say I wasn't good enough for Arsenal. He said, I wasn't good enough for Arsenal. I was good enough for Arsenal to play for Arsenal. But my way of getting past players, if I wanted to play in the hole, was Dennis Bergkamp. If I wanted to play wide, it was Robert Perez or Freddie Ljungberg. And he said, world-class, established players. For a young player coming through, how am I going to dislodge that? And he wasn't.
Facts.
It's facts, you know what I mean? So you have to move on. And that's what's going to happen with Emil. If you look at Emil Smith-Rowe and you say to him, right, okay, right, I'm going to give you another 4-year contract. Right, where are you going to play? Whose place are you going to take in the team? Is he going to take Rice's place? No. Is he going to take Odegaard's place? No. Is he going to take the wide players on the left-hand side, Martinelli, or you might take on Trossard, but I'm talking to start. Martinelli, no. Is he going to out Saka? No. He's in a plot where the path's very, very hard for him to get through, Dan. Now, it might have been different 2 years ago if he'd have stayed fit and developed and got there, but it's just unlucky. And I'm sorry, when you look at it, people go, oh, well, we ain't making youth players and all that. How many youth players actually do come through the ranks and start? How many?
I can answer that. I always answer this question, and people are probably sick of it now because it's one every decade, I would say. Because in the late 80s, we had Tony Adams, didn't we? He come through. 90s, we had Ashley Cole. 2000s was probably Jack Wilshere, and then Saka. So we've had one every decade. Not many, Lee.
Not many. We was very fortunate at the time when you go back to that George Graham era. Like Paul Merson come through,
Kevin Campbell and Ray Parlour.
Campbell come through, Martin Keown come through, Ray Parlour, a few of them. Go through when it was like when we was under Arsene Wenger, when we was winning things. Go back to the Invincibles. You know what I mean? Like how many come through? As you say, Ashley Cole.
That was it, really. I mean, Jermaine Pennant and David Bentley had to move. Didn't they? Jeremy Aliadier had to move. They were all going to be like top quality, apparently. But
like Steve was one, wasn't he? Like Sidwell was one that was coming through. Went on and all their good careers, all their good careers elsewhere, but none of them come through. None of them come through now. But did anybody worry about it then?
No,
not really.
No,
not really. And that is why when one comes through, like I always had a great. When people go, "Oh, was one of my favourite players," was Paul Merson because he come through the ranks. I could relate to that, like Tony Adams. You know what I mean? Had a little bit more feeling for Tony than Steve Bold or whatever. But that was how it was. Kevin Campbell the same. Like you'd always give him a little bit more of a chance than somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm pretty sure nowadays we give Smith-Rowe more chances than the Vieira maybe, or whatever, because it's sentiment. You want those players to come through. Jack Wilshere is probably the biggest disappointment that I've got to any player coming through. Like, do you know what I mean? Because I thought he was the real deal. I honestly felt he, but what finish wasn't his ability? Injuries.
Yeah.
It comes down to luck. We had like it's brilliant point. I couldn't see it said Rocastle come through, Hayes come through, Quinn, Gus Caesar. They did, right? But I can tell you that once you got to a certain level, the likes of Gus Caesar, Martin Hayes, they come off the train. That's exactly what's happening now with these guys now. Like you're going up a different level now, and not everybody can stay on that bus stand. It's facts.
It is facts. People don't like to hear it, but it is facts, and that's absolutely true. Listen, we've spoken about the outgoings. We've spoken about what might be potentially needed incoming striker and winger wise. We don't really know much about Yilmaz. He's been linked today for Arsenal. But I want to talk about the two players that we think are going to be wearing Arsenal shirts this season quickly before we do come to some of the questions in the chat, which I've starred. Obviously, Calafiori has been signed. You got to meet him, which is great for yourself. And Mikel Merino looks like now he's back from holiday today. That's going to get done. The medical is going to get done, and he's going to sign as well, potentially. So these are two players, Lee. I'll tell you why I'm interested in these two players. I'm not going to say I'm buzzing or excited for it. It's nice to see that we're signing people. But what I really believe is two things. I think they are definitely addressing two massive gaping holes in the squad, which I think is the box-to-box number 8 and the left-back situation. I know Timber can play there, but didn't play there last year due to a huge injury, and it's great that he's now back, by the way. And I also believe that what that will do will flourish Martinelli. I'm going to say it now. I'm tipping Martinelli to have a good year.
Yeah.
I am tipping Martinelli to have a good year. I thought he stole the show when he came on against Man United, which was great to see in pre-season. He was by far the best player. I think he took us to a different level. What I loved about Martinelli, Lee, was actually he looked like he'd come prepared. It didn't look like, oh, I'm going to try and get fit here. He was ready. He was ready to go. And I loved that. So for me, I think that left-hand side of Arsenal, which needs addressing so much in the first 11, potentially could be, now that we've got the left-back situation sorted with... what's his name, Calafiori, and then Merino at left 8. So what do you make of these two, bro?
Do you know what? I'm going to say it now. Like we were talking about this with Mikel Merino. It's not the what's it, the flagship sort of sign at the moment. We're normally going for 20, 23-year-olds. Why have they gone for 28, 29? Maybe because, again, they're trying to free up something for Wanyeri in 2 or 3 years' time, right? You know what I mean? I think that they are, Dan, like, you know, I really do. After seeing him, do you remember when I come back from the tour and I said, wait till you see Saliba? Do you remember we went to Crystal Palace? I said, wait till you see Crystal Palace.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that? And I said, I was impressed with his physique and everything about him there. He's not a lightweight player, this kid, you know what I mean? He's bigger and stronger than me, you know what I mean, at this moment in time. You know, you can see it, like, you know, he's more of a, I think he's 17, but he looks about 19, 20. He looks a right man, like, do you know what I mean? So, all right, Adrian, like out there. So, look, don't have to rub it in by saying you're sitting
right, you have to say where he is on holiday.
Yeah, you can just say, like, you're watching it. Yeah, turn around saying you're watching it, like, in the sun in Turkey while we're sitting here in a cloudy day. But there you go, like, you know what I mean? Typical teacher. Anyway, so I do think maybe they're saying, right, we get 2-3 good years out of Merino, and then he'll be really ready. Do you know what I'm saying, Dan? Like, so I don't know, like, you know, but maybe also for a bit of experience as well. I do think that the team is still very, very young, so you know, and I don't think at the end of the day you should be saying, oh, like, it should be always 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old signings. Sometimes get the real deal win. Now, what I've seen of him, I like the header he scored against Germany. Well, I didn't, because I had money on Germany. So he's got to do a lot to get back in my good books. I can tell you that now, like, you know. But, yeah, listen, he looks the part. He looks the part. So we'll have to wait and see on that, like, you know. Calafiori looks like can I be really honest with Calafiori? I said this as well. I watched Italy a couple of times, right? He didn't stand out for me and go, wow, oh, he's a great player. I didn't think Italy were that great. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But I'm with you on this. I think that this is a real thing and that they've got to do. That left side has been not decimated, but it's not been as steady as the right hand side. Put it that way. Like,
no,
so you know, like, so Saka's been able to flourish in an attacking role where the right hand side is shored up and strong as an ox. The left side has been left a little bit open, i.e., with the left back coming into midfield, Gabriel playing out there. Now, Gabriel, I think, is a terrific defender. The one weakness he has is he don't get it out there quick enough to the left-handed side, like what Saliba does on the right. Saliba's just that little bit more cultured, can get it out to Ben White, get it out to Saliba, get it out to Odegaard a lot quicker than Gabriel does. Gabriel sometimes has to have that slight extra touch or just take his time a little bit more, and that sometimes is not quite giving you that little bit of extra space that Martinelli needs. But sort that side out, get it solid, and let Martinelli do his stuff, like, you know what I mean? I think Martinelli does tremendous work going back and defends very, very well. That's natural to him. But, you know, I want to see him going forward like he did against Man. I know he's playing against young kids and all that, like, but you can only play what's in front of you and destroy it, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day. Sancho had a chance of destroying Josh Nichols that day. He didn't do it, did he? Maybe because Josh is better. maybe that, you know, Sancho's not as good as Martinelli. I don't know. But Martinelli can, on his day, destroy. And he has got to be at his very, very best next year if we are to really challenge for the league. Because I think at the end of the day, 15 goals I think he got last season. He was nowhere near that list. And no, it was injuries and whatever. He has got to step up. And
yes.
And the one thing that I will say, Dan, and I emphasise this to everybody watching, yourself, everybody like that, when you meet these players, right, and you realise that they're kids. We are relying on kids to make us happy every week, win us the league and whatever, like, you know what I mean? So maybe that Merino one is certainly a little bit different, because I look at Martinelli, he's still slight. He's a boy. He's a boy, you know what I mean? Like, 1 year, he's a kid, you know what I mean? Like, and at the end of the day, you know, 23, 24, yeah, I think you are probably matured as a man by then, like, you know, but these guys have all been a bit young for us over the last few years. You know, I will say one player that really does impress me, like, there's nothing of him, is Jorginho, by the way. If I was playing a game, you stand up against him, you fancy taking him out, like, but he obviously, you know, physically you could, but like, he's such a good player that he doesn't get out physical. But some of these guys, you know, like Thomas Partey, you know, you can see, like Gabriel, you can tell, you know, but there's one or two that perhaps need just a little bit more experience in their game as well. So hopefully that will happen.
Yeah, man, 100%. Look, I shared this on my show earlier, and Chris Hudson said, send it to Edu. I don't think Edu will probably want to see it, to be fair, because it's from myself. But I wanted to get an idea of where we are in terms of our strength league, which I still think is too short. And I'm going to explain why I think it's too short. This is our squad at the moment. Okay, now I've not put Fabio Vieira and Jorginho on this. I've not put Kivior on it because it looks like potentially Kivior could be going. Jorginho and Fabio Vieira haven't made it, but they are going to be part of the squad. And I haven't added Nelson, Smith-Rowe or Eddie Nketiah to this, right? But if you go through this very quickly, you've got the goalkeeping situation. You've got Tomiyasu over here who can cover for Ben White. You've got Timber over here that can cover for Saliba. You've got Calafiori now being brought in that covers for Gabriel and is our starting left back, we believe. Zinchenko's still there at the back to cover up at left back at the moment and potentially in midfield. I don't really want to see him at left back, but it looks like Calafiori and Timber will definitely do that, and maybe Tomiyasu as well. We've got Partey and Jorginho in here if Rice doesn't play in the 6. We've got Rice and Merino that can both come in as the 8 now, which is definitely something that we've needed desperately, in my opinion. Because selling Granit Xhaka, not replacing him was a mistake, to be fair. We've got Ødegaard, Vieira, and Ethan Nwaneri. We've got Martinelli or Trossard that can start on the left. Havertz and Jesus up top here, and Saka on the right. Now, for me, if you're to add 2 more players to that, assuming Merino signs alongside Calafiori, we've got this right-hand side position here, which needs covering for Saka, and we've got the number 9 that we all want, right? So if we add there, let's just say that we sign Victor, your guy that you can't say, Victor Gyökeres, and we go over at the right-hand side here. And let's say that maybe we don't get Yilmaz. Maybe we don't. Maybe we go and get, let's say, the player that I would like, Eze. What we've got then is we've got Eze that can cover for Saka. Eze can cover for Ødegaard. Eze can come in at the left 8 position here, and he can go left as well. And then we've also got Gyökeres. Now, what it does, Lee, right, is this then allows our bench to be the following. Ramsdale on the bench, assuming he stays. Tomiyasu, Timber, Zinchenko, Partey, potentially Nwaneri, Trossard or Martinelli, Havertz, Jesus, and Eze. So just with those 2 signings, all of a sudden, there's no more flinging on Fabio Vieira, no more Bayern Munich away and Nelson and Eddie are coming on, no more Emil Smith-Rowe needs to be fit because otherwise Vieira comes on. These are all quality squad players and good enough for the Arsenal first team. And what that allows us to do as well, Judge, is go for all 4 competitions. So there's only really, in my opinion, 2 players that we need after this Merino comes in. So I wanted to ask your thoughts on that, mate.
Exactly that. There's two players to come in there that is good, because then, you know, you can, even if you get one in, just say that as a striker, you can then just say, right, well, Jesus is going to be that left-hand side, right? Go on to the right-hand side and cover Martinelli. Saka could be, Havertz could be the one that could come into the 8. Havertz could be the one that come into a couple of the positions as well. So if the budget's only like 100 million, then get that striker does it. If you want to go a little bit more and be more adventurous and try and really push it out there, if you were to sign Eze or someone of that ilk and Victor Gyökeres, then I am saying that we are ready.
I agree.
Two players there, you know what I mean? I think that Miles Skelly can cover the left-hand side if he was at the moment why Tommy's out or whatever, you know what I mean? If he was to sell Nketiah to fund those two deals, you can bring in a young kid that can come in and back up and be a very, very good squad player for us as well, So if the funds are not there, sell Nketiah, maybe sell somebody else and do it there, And I do think that we're then set. I think that you could look at that. If you said that was the squad, listen, if that doesn't win the league, you'd have to be disappointed.
We've done all we can to get across the line with in terms of the transfer window. Like tactically, we'll have to talk about that.
That's enough.
Yeah,
but that's good enough. That's good enough.
But that's a good enough squad to compete. And tell you what, it is good enough to do: win a bloody trophy. That's what it's good enough to do.
Well, you would hope that it would. You would hope that it would. You've got to have a little bit of luck. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, yeah, we go and win a trophy from then on.
Yeah,
and we've got a squad there that you can. I know that you wouldn't be saying, "Oh, well, we're lacking this and we're lacking that," and we all say it. We say it in the groups when Russ is on with us in the groups as well. As always, turning around, we're always one or two
short
away from disaster. Make sure that don't happen. Make sure you're confident, and those two players would do that. Those two players would do that.
100%. Let's take some of these questions. We're going to do these really quickly. This one comes in from EJH. It says, do you think Arteta is keeping his cards close to his chest regarding a striker? Could we see a shock move towards the end of the window? I think we will. I think we'll do something, Lee. I honestly believe we're going to get an attacker in. I'll be absolutely astounded if we don't get an attacker. I'll let you take this next one. Neil says, should Arteta and Edu resign if we fail to win the title for a third year in a row? I'll let you answer that.
No, I don't think they should resign, but they've got to be accountable. Both be accountable if we don't. You know what I mean? If we end up, listen, if we end up taking Manchester City to the last game of the season and we don't win it, you can't go around and say, oh, that's terrible and whatever, because you're up against Man City. But you could turn around and say, oh, if you'd have done this and you'd have done that, we could have done it, you know what I mean? And they'd be fit. Listen, they'd have gone through all the data, all the things that they think they can improve on, And I think you've got to believe in them that they can do it. But I do think that that it will come down to this transfer market, players. And I just see someone in the chat saying, Nketiah is more than Tomiyasu, then sell Tomiyasu. You know what I mean? If that's what you think, if Tomiyasu is not reliable enough, then we can get some money from him. I think it's time now, Dan, that we've got to be a little bit more ruthless. I don't want to.
He did say in his press conference, to be fair to him, in his interview, he did say we need to be more ruthless. So maybe that's what we now need to do.
And he's been ruthless with Smith-Rowe. He's been ruthless with a few players down the line.
He's been ruthless with this guy, which is what I was going to bring up next. Ash has said, do you think that we'll sell Aaron Ramsdale? There's no interest whatsoever. It doesn't look like anyone's coming in for him. I just want to keep him now, Lee. I know people might think that's out of order on Ramsdale, but I want to win a title. I don't want to go and give players careers elsewhere. This lad, we don't get 25, 30 million pound offered to him. He's staying. I'm sorry, I ain't going to go sell Ramsdale for a tenner because he wants to go play first team football.
No, I agree. As much as I love Aaron, my argument now for Aaron is the opportunity is not there at the moment. So the opportunity will come at a big club at some stage, but wait for it. Don't force it by going to somewhere like Southampton or someone like that. Stay where you are, and you know what? Battle it out with him. I'm not convinced by Raya is the main guy. Go in there and force it, say that you're the man. And that means when you come in those games, like you did last season, you've got to come in there and go, right, I'm at it. I felt he was a little bit nervy in those games last season.
He was. Yeah,
You've got to get rid of that nerves now and just go
there's
for it.
games for him. There's games for him. We're playing potentially 50 or 60 games this year. If we go all the way in competitions, he's going to get chances, isn't he, Lee? He's going to get cup games.
He's going to get cup games. I think he'll get Champions League games as well. There's going to be 4 extra Champions League games. So get the games. I'm with you on that right now. I would say to Aaron, look, stay and fight for your place. Stay and 100%. Fight. But I think that be a little bit more ruthless. If I spoke to him, I'll say to him, look, just can go out there, blank your mind, and just perform, and just make sure when you come off that pitch, it ain't, he was a little bit nervy and whatever, you know what I mean? Just go do what you was doing before he come and battle it out with him and see if you can get it done. And if you can't, then you be there, But also, I think, if I be really honest, even if you're not playing, you're contributing because you're pushing the other goalkeeper, and that's how I would look at that situation at the moment, I feel very, very sorry for him, but there's still an Arsenal future for him. There's still an Arsenal future for him. And listen, if he gets a chance, he can take it.
100%. Who would be your dream signing if money was no object, but can only be one? Well, I've got to pick a realistic player. I'm going to go Alexander Isak. Yeah. I think that is the player that would take us across the line. In fact, I'll put money on him getting 20 goals for Arsenal this season if we signed him, at least. Maybe more.
I'll take Victor as well. Go on. Yeah, I think it's realistic. I think we need a striker. I really think now. Bruno Guimaraes was my one, but after watching what I've seen on it, I think we need a forward.
Yeah, we do. Mark says, Lee, it's not Arteta's fault. I appreciate I am far left, where Arteta can do no wrong. However, he does not do every job at Arsenal. If Edu does not give him the tools, how is that Arteta's fault? I think Edu and the board have got a big, massive role to play at the moment.
Yes.
Massive.
I think they have, but I do think that at the end of the day, what Arteta's done over the last couple of seasons, I think he can demand it as well. Say, I want this. I want you to break the back, you know what I mean? Do what you done for me last season with Declan Rice. So I do think he's got the power to force it. I really do, because of what he's done in the past. And I don't think that he's all to blame for it. But I think that he can force it, and I think they do it, and the Cronkies and everything. Listen, they've put our season tickets up quite a lot this season, you know what I mean? People are having to get loans out now and things like that, come on, the money, don't tell me there's not money there when you're, chucking loads of money at it and everything like that. That tour, they earned a load of money on that, $300 for a friendly. Come on, you got the money.
Agreed. This isn't a question, but I wanted to start it because I agree with it. This is a big season for Gabriel Jesus and Martinelli. For me, they've got to get 13 plus goals for both. Now, I've got faith in Martinelli, and I've mentioned that previously in the stream. But this is the biggest of the biggest for Gabriel Jesus. Yeah. One, he's got to be fit. Two, he's got to perform. And three, he's got to show that he's a massive part of his squad by coming in and being versatile. Because Jesus is a brilliant footballer. Put him in front of a goal, he'll get you 10 goals if you're lucky. He ain't going to get you 20 or 30, right? I knew that when we signed him. But he's got to come in and show that he's more than a number 9 now for me, because he ain't a number 9. He ain't a striker. And I think he can come and help with a Saka cover. I think he can come on and be a super sub. I remember when he come on against Bayern Munich and set up Trossard for the goal. For me, this is a player who can bring in quite a lot. And I said with Babs last night, because he asked me on his stream last night, he asked me for my predictions and he said super sub. And I think personally, he could be the one. Jesus could be that super sub that Arsenal turn to, that can come on and be versatile, bring his experience, bring his link-up play, and bring his work rate and press.
I agree. If he's fit, Arsenal, and as fit as he was before that knee injury, if he's back to where he was, Arsenal win the league. That's how important he is to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think it could be key. This one comes in from Niffin. Says, hypothetically speaking, would you sell Saka now for 120 million, but we're guaranteed to win the Premier League, or keep him and hope we win it in the future? Oh, God, that's a horrible question, isn't it? Wow. I mean, I've guaranteed the Premier League personally, but
you'd have to sell him.
I'd have to sell him, yeah. That's the easiest answer. I
But
don't
the
even
trouble
want
is,
to
if you said,
That's horrible.
I don't believe that we'd invest the money. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that would ever case be in it. Like, listen, players come and go. That will always happen, and there will be a time when Saka leaves Arsenal, whether it be we want him to leave or he leaves. That's how it is. So, I think, listen, if he's in the team and playing really, really well, we've got a good chance of winning trophies. That's how I see it. Like, I still think he's key.
Yeah, so do I, bro. And this one comes in from Aid, which is a good question, actually. I'll let you. We'll both have a go on this one, actually. Here's a question for you, lads. Timber, where is he getting in? What do you reckon, Lee? Because he was good in pre-season.
It's been very, very good. I think that he'll get a number of games in different positions. I think, like, don't forget, as I said it before, I say it again, Saliba's going to play a minimum 11 games more than what he did last season, and he played every single game last season. So he needs to be given a break. So he'll come in there. He played very, very well there, Timber, in that time, and he can cover both flanks as well. But I also think with Timber is that because of that injury, he's not going to be risked week in, week out. He's going to be gradually put in, and that suits us at this moment in time with our back four.
Facts. Listen, this is where I am on Timber. I actually go sound like Arsene Wenger a lot here, but this is going to be like a new signing because he was a new signing. And if you think about it, he is a new signing. It's one that we haven't seen yet. So I think he'll be very, very important. I think the versatility of the guy is ridiculous. He can play in midfield, right back, left back, centre back. I think he's going to be a very important player, and I think he's going to be covering for a lot of players that need rest. Gabriel and Saliba cannot play 40 games each a season again. No. That's just ridiculous. So he's got to come in and definitely cover for it. Lee, anything else you want to talk about before we come to a close in relation to pre-season or anything like that? Or any?
No, that's it. Thank you very much. Listen, over 500 people in there. That's our first one back since I've gone away. So that's fantastic, like numbers for our first one back. So thanks for everything. We can't do this without you guys. So I appreciate it. And we're going to, like, now the season started, we're flying. I know Sarah's in the comments, in the chat and everything like that. She's going to the game on Wednesday and Sunday. Make sure you come and see us because that'll be lovely. We're going to be looking to do a bit of content as well, like maybe jump on. So that'd be good to see you, Sarah. And listen, if you're at the Emirates, come and say hello. We're back at the Emirates on Wednesday. Looking forward to it. Me and Dan are both there, and we look forward to seeing you.
See you next time, people.